When someone has nothing meaningful to say, they just ramble endlessly, and that's exactly what happens on The View, where the hosts, out of touch with most Americans, push their narrative with nonstop chatter instead of real substance. For years, Whoopi Goldberg dominated the show like royalty, cutting off guests, steamrolling opposing views, and presenting her opinions as unquestionable truth. But everything shifted in one shocking moment thanks to Karoline Leavitt, who caught everyone off guard. The episode began like any other, with smug laughs, eye rolls, and a panel perfectly aligned with the show's left-leaning agenda, until the usual routine suddenly fell apart.
Well, you know, listen, if you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on.
Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help.
Whoopi, as self-assured as ever, settled back into her seat ready to take control of yet another conversation. But everything shifted when the topic of wokeness came up, a term The View practically worships and defends like it's the core of their identity. Feeling untouchable, Whoopi took the first shot, smirking as she pointed at Karoline and declared, "Without wokeness, you wouldn't even have this job." And just like that, the entire atmosphere in the room changed, the audience stiffened, and even Joy Behar, who built her career on mocking conservatives, shifted uncomfortably in her chair.
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
What Whoopi said next was exactly what everyone expected, predictable and irritating, as if all her years as a host still hadn't given her the creativity to come up with anything new. Yet here we were once again, waiting to hear the same tired banter she always falls back on and wondering what uninspired line she'd offer this time.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now, as
I'm
for
sorry,
this
guys.
debate,
We're going to come back out to the panel. Caroline, thank you very much for your time.
That was so good.
The atmosphere was thick with tension as everyone braced for what came next, and it quickly became clear that Whoopi had no idea what kind of response she was about to face. This wasn't a light disagreement or playful banter. This was Whoopi Goldberg taking a direct shot at Karoline Leavitt's entire career, intelligence, and work ethic, reducing everything she had achieved to nothing more than a product of the very ideology she opposed. It was condescending and meant to belittle, yet the audience clapped on cue, some even chuckling, though an uneasy tension lingered as if they sensed Whoopi had crossed a line, but didn't know whether they were allowed to acknowledge it. But Karoline didn't flinch. She didn't scramble for a comeback or defend herself defensively. Instead, she offered a slow, knowing smile that said, "You just made a big mistake," not cocky but confident, the look of someone armed with facts, evidence, and composure. And with calm precision, she shifted the entire dynamic, opening with hard data, cold, verifiable numbers detailing government spending reports that exposed how taxpayer dollars were being funneled into bizarrely woke programs. From gender studies in Guatemala to Sesame Street-style initiatives exporting American social activism abroad, connecting each point with surgical clarity to show how wokeness had evolved into a political weapon, used to silence and punish dissent. By the time she finished dismantling the narrative piece by piece, Whoopi wasn't laughing anymore.
In a statement afterwards, this young lady claimed her, quote, on-air snub proves that you-know-who will not be treated fairly in the upcoming debate. Now, do you think this is going to make people doubt whether CNN can stay objective, or is this more the same of, everybody's against me, it's all rigged, I tell you. Is everything rigged?
No, it's their MO. That's what they do. Rachel Maddow said last week, she's like, if the election is lost, it was rigged. If there's a debate, then the moderators are probably biased and they're prejudiced against me.
She's incredibly articulate, isn't she? It's honestly surprising that the hosts on The View chose to mock her rather than support another woman, which really exposes a lot about their underlying agenda. Let's see how this unfolds, because it's clear Karoline is about to drop even more truth that's going to be very hard for them to ignore.
The most divisive and disgusting speech that any president, certainly in my lifetime, has ever given. He essentially waged war on half of the country by saying that we are all a threat to democracy because we believe in putting America first. It's not radical to want to put your country and your own people first. It's not radical to want to have a strong border, a strong military, and to unleash the might of your own economy, not economies around the world.
The woman who had built her career on dominating conversations, shutting down conservative voices, and bulldozing through uncomfortable topics was suddenly on the defensive. Whoopi shifted in her seat, her usual smirk gone, her hands fidgeting as if searching for something to hold onto. Unaccustomed to guests who didn't stumble over their words or collapse under her rapid-fire comebacks. This time, the tables had completely turned. No matter how badly she wanted to regain control with a sharp retort, she couldn't, because Karoline wasn't giving her a single opening. For the first time in ages, it was obvious to everyone watching that Whoopi Goldberg had backed herself into a corner with no escape. She opened her mouth, then closed it, opened it again, still unable to form a single comeback, while the audience, normally quick to cheer, sat frozen in uncomfortable silence, unsure whether to clap, laugh, or simply wait for Whoopi to say anything to regain control. Even the camera crew hesitated, unsure whether to zoom in on her stunned expression or cut to commercial to save the moment. Whoopi, usually so quick with a snide remark or dismissive gesture, sat stiffly as if wishing she could sink into her chair, suddenly aware that she had walked straight into a trap. And here was the question Karoline had exposed: if wokeness is truly about diversity and inclusion, then why are conservative women the ones being attacked? And why do those who preach tolerance turn vicious when faced with someone who refuses to conform to their ideology? In that moment, Whoopi realized she had no comeback, no sharp retort, no witty remark to flip the situation, leaving a silence so heavy everyone felt it. Joy Behar eventually tried to force out a nervous joke in a desperate attempt to break the tension, but the damage was done. Whoopi had done something she had never done before. She had completely unraveled on live television.
You know, we have seen cultural Marxism trickling its way through every institution in this country. The public school system, the higher education university system, Hollywood, big tech, the corrupt mainstream media that I fought against in President Trump's White House are indoctrinating my generation of Americans into hating our country, hating one another based on race and gender and all of this other BS, quite frankly.
It's tough to watch, isn't it? The way her arguments come across feels childish and dismissive, especially when she's confronted with facts she can't easily push back on. And it makes you wonder how someone like her continues to hold such a prominent platform. It's frustrating to see a figure who, in my view, often lacks depth in her responses still maintains such a strong presence on daytime TV. Maybe it's simply because she's been part of that world for so long. But at this point, you'd expect someone capable of bringing more thoughtful, constructive discussion to take her place. It's honestly baffling.
Well, you know, listen, if you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on. Right. That's what you hear. Yeah. When they don't have anything to hold you with, nothing to make you think about what they have to say.
And the internet, oh, the internet absolutely exploded. Memes, reaction clips, endless commentary poured in within minutes, and Whoopi's stunned expression was suddenly everywhere, looped across every platform imaginable. But what made the moment even wilder was how it echoed the fictional trouble she'd constantly stirred up in this dramatized version of The View, a show where her bold remarks often sparked controversy and chaos. In this heightened, story-like world, she had become the center of outrageous disputes, from reckless on-air comments to clashes with public figures. each one escalating the tension around her unchecked commentary. The fictional lawsuits in this narrative piled up one after another, first a made-up clash with Carrie Underwood, then a dramatic showdown with Elon Musk, and now a blow-up with Karoline Leavitt, each imagined case adding pressure to ABC's fictional struggle to contain the fallout. And in this storyline, the Carrie Underwood incident was the wildest of all. After Carrie performed at a political event, the hosts ripped her apart on air, mocking her and predicting her downfall, only for this fictional version of Carrie to respond not with a polite statement, but with $1 billion defamation lawsuit. When the fictional case finally reached court, something explosive surfaced, something no one, not even Whoopi in this dramatic retelling, could have seen coming.
They talk at you, not to you, and that's what she was doing, and she was doing it, and it's not new.
No.
But everybody's hip to you all now.
Yeah.
And we are anticipating that you are not prepared. Because you keep saying you going and you preparing when you're on the trail.
It's refreshing to finally see someone break free from The View's usual scripted bias. And watching someone confidently hold their ground with facts feels like a genuine win, especially when the show's usual voices start to unravel. There's something undeniably satisfying about hearing a different perspective for once, one that isn't shaped by the same predictable agenda.
That you saw live on this program yesterday. Joy Behar stirring the pot of controversy after saying this about Karoline.
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
Do you want to take this?
So you cannot be attractive and smart? I will try to give Joy the benefit, and thank you. I try to give Joy the benefit of the doubt that she didn't see that briefing. Because if you saw that yesterday on numerous topics, no big binder, I think she might have had a different impression of this young woman who held her own.
Karoline's accomplishments are genuinely impressive, and it's nice to see her finally getting the recognition she deserves. By contrast, Whoopi's contributions feel harder to define these days. While she began her career with strong achievements in acting, her more recent presence, at least in my view, often seems focused on stirring debate rather than offering meaningful dialogue. Her role on The View now feels more tied to longevity than to any fresh value she's bringing to the table, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to point to anything substantial she's done recently.
I mean, you would have to give her the benefit of the doubt that she did absolutely no research or reading about anything dealing with Karoline Leavitt before she made that remark. Because Karoline Leavitt worked, I mean, she went to St. Anselm College, she worked for WMUR
Ran
TV.
for Congress?
In New Hampshire, she ran for Congress at the age of 25, put out a very good campaign.
In this fictional storyline, leaked emails revealed that ABC had deliberately orchestrated the on-air attack on Carrie Underwood to boost ratings, not as a spontaneous slip but as a calculated smear campaign engineered to spark outrage and keep The View trending. When the truth surfaced, the industry was shaken, forcing ABC into frantic damage control and a massive undisclosed settlement that sparked quiet conversations about whether the show was worth the chaos anymore. But before the dust could settle, this imagined crisis deepened when Elon Musk entered the picture, after months of the hosts portraying him as a dangerous figure and spreading false claims about Twitter's policies. This fictional Musk fired back with a lawsuit, plunging the show into another wave of drama that pushed advertisers to back away from the constant scandal. As the fictional lawsuits piled up, and big sponsors reconsidered their association, the once unstoppable force led by this dramatized version of Whoopi Goldberg began to crumble. With mounting crises and a dwindling reputation, ABC found itself in full-blown panic mode as The View shifted from a prized asset to a growing liability in this heightened, story-driven scenario.
She lost by 8 or 9 points, but she still put on a good campaign. Then she was the press secretary for the Trump campaign, going on TV literally every day.
Well, heavily pregnant and a new mom.
Pregnant. Yeah, she's a new mother. And then she goes out yesterday and gives an... And this, again, this is speaking very objectively, because I've watched every press secretary since going back to Marlon Fitzwater. Yeah, I'm that old. And she went out there for her very first briefing at the age of 27 years old, the youngest press secretary ever, and did a terrific job.
She keeps talking in circles, but Karoline is the one actually standing her ground. She's the real standout here, pushing back with clarity and confidence while everything around her feels chaotic. In this moment, she comes across as the true hero of the exchange, refusing to be intimidated or drowned out by the noise.
Yeah. I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation.
In this fictional narrative, Whoopi Goldberg's long run on The View came to an unexpected end. After years of dominating conversations and shutting down opposing viewpoints, the imagined showdown with Karoline Leavitt became the breaking point, exposing vulnerabilities on live TV that ABC could no longer ignore. Though the network tried to present her departure as a voluntary break, it was obvious in this story that she had been pushed out as ABC scrambled into damage control mode while advertisers backed away, and longtime viewers began questioning the show's future. Now, with this fictional version of Whoopi gone, The View stands at a major crossroads. Will the network bring in another personality just like her to preserve the familiar formula, or will they finally shift in a new direction? Is this the beginning of the end for the show? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.